Good afternoon. My name is Saya Wynn, and today's presentation is on the relationship between workplace burnout, anxiety, and depression. This presentation is a part of the requirements for one of my doctoral classes at Liberty University. So to begin with, table of contents. First, I will be talking about the introduction. Next is current research, hypothesis, methods, conclusion, and of course, lastly is the reference section. So introduction, this presentation is an overview of the current literature and a proposal of research. Current research. Workplace burnout is defined as a psychological syndrome that can be characterized by physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. In addition, it can be conceptualized by three variables. These variables are emotional exhaustion, personal accomplishments, and depersonalization. Burnout has been associated with stress-related symptoms, decreased work engagement, and low workplace satisfaction. Therapists who have reported burnout have also been linked to having poor treatment outcomes and higher number of dropouts in clients, which of course negatively impacts their outcomes for both the client, therapist, and the agency in which they are currently working for. Burnout is a common problem in mental health therapists who experience high rates of exhaustion or high disengagement and reduced personal accomplishments. Due to the pandemic, mental health professionals were forced to work longer hours with increased workloads, in addition to increased on-job demands and fewer hours of supervision. This has adversely affected the balance between work and personal life, which is a known contributing factor to burnout. So as a result of the pandemic, most therapists have to now do their clinical notes at home, which calls for the increased longer work hours. I apologize. Factors such as job satisfaction, turnover rates, additional work responsibilities, and challenges experienced on the job and perceived value of work all play a vital role in burnout. Burnout in mental health professionals has also been associated with decreased productivity rate, higher turnover, and increased likelihood of developing depression. Researchers Muhammad et al. 2018 conducted an international study. This study included 35 participants from 35 countries, and results indicated that 66% of participants reported experiencing psychological symptoms such as irritability, hopelessness, isolation, difficulty with colleagues, and decreased productivity rate. If left untreated, burnout may result in serious ramifications for professionals. Therefore, professionals must be aware of the skills they can use to mediate the symptoms of burnout. Next is depression and anxiety. Approximately 61% of mental health professionals met the qualification for clinical depression. Depression is a hindrance to employee performance. Providers are more vulnerable to depression due to their exposure to several psychological stressors, in addition to compassion fatigue or secondary secondary trauma. The most common threat to an employee's well-being and performance is stress, depression, and anxiety. This has led to an increased number of absences at work and a higher turnover rates among employees who have a higher burnout. Both depression and anxiety significantly impact the lives of these individuals in a personal manner and in a manner in which they cope with anxiety. This has become a large challenge in today's world. Unfortunately, the pandemic added to the stress level and has caused anxiety in these individuals. Approximately 40% of mental health professionals have reported having symptoms of depression, and 45 also reported having severe symptoms of anxiety. Individuals who suffer from depression tend to be lethargic and feel guilty regarding their job performance. Researchers Talizopoulos et al. 2018 examined the possible relationship between depression and burnout as a predictor for aggressive behaviors in mental health professionals. They used the Centers of Epidemiological Studies depression scale, Maslow burnout inventory, and also the aggression questionnaire. Results of the study indicated that depression was a predictor for aggressive behaviors. Burnout, however, was not a predictor for aggressive behaviors. However, there was a significant correlation found between burnout and depression. Next is our hypothesis. So researchers hypothesized that mental health professionals who experience an elevated burnout rate, as defined by the Maslow burnout inventory, will also have higher symptoms of depression and anxiety, defined also by the depression, anxiety, and stress scale. Our independent variable is burnout and mental health professionals will be, the independent variable in the study will be examined by the Maslow burnout inventory, as I stated, and the dependent is the symptoms of depression and anxiety that were found as a result of the MBI. So method section. The present study investigates the correlation between burnout and symptoms of depression and anxiety in mental health professionals. A total of 99 mental health professionals participated in this study. It is within subject design and nature. Individuals were recruited through use of an electronic flyer sent out to the directors of mental health agencies, such as counseling facilities, community service boards, Department of Social Services, and hospital psych units. Participants who were interested in participating in the study were then, once they contacted us, were then sent a DocuSign that included an informed consent. Once written informed consent was obtained, a link to a Google form was then sent out via email. These email links were sent out individually to ensure confidentiality and that the participants remained anonymous. And then, in addition, the Google form contained the survey questions. The Google form did not record any identifying information such as emails, names, any of that information that could identify possibly the participants. And then all participants were required to work as mental health professionals to participate in this study. Next is procedures. As I mentioned, the study was a within subject design. Only quantitative data was included in this study. The study included 2 levels of statistical analysis, which is our NBI general survey and the DAS-21, to examine if there was a statistical significant relationship. In order to examine that, a correlated group t-test was conducted using SPSS 28.0.0.0 with an alpha level of 0.05. Next is materials and measures. The study consisted of 39 questions, 2 demographic questions, 21 questions that assessed for symptoms of depression, anxiety, and the other 16 assessed for burnout. So the demographic questions, the first one was a multiple choice question that asked the participant to identify as male, female, or other. The last demographic question was a short answer format, and participants were just asked to write their age, not their age. Next is depression and anxiety scale. which came from Loving-Bond, 1995. So this utilized a 4-point scale, which ranged from 0 to 3. 0 was, this did not apply to me at all. 3 applied to me very much or most of the time. Scores were then summed up and multiplied by 2 to obtain an overall score. Scores range from 0 to 42. So a score of 0 to 14 indicated normal symptoms of depression, anxiety, and stress. Mild symptoms included for depression, 10 to 13 range, anxiety, 8 to 9, and for stress, a 15 to 18 range. Moderate symptoms included 14 to 20 range for depression, 10 to 14 for anxiety, 19 to 25 for stress. Severe symptoms included 21 to 27 for depression, 15 to 19 for anxiety, 26 to 33 for stress. And lastly, extremely severe symptoms included 28 or higher for depression, 20 or higher for anxiety, and 34 or higher for stress. And then next, burnout was assessed using the Maslach Inventory General Survey. So this examines, of course, their attitudes towards their jobs. The Maslach Inventory utilizes a 7-point Likert scale, which ranges from 6 every day to 0 never. The inventory used subscales, which included emotional exhaustion, professional efficacy, and cynicism. Higher scores in emotional exhaustion and cynicism, and then lower in professional efficacy indicated symptoms of, a higher rate of burnout. And then in conclusion, burnout in mental health professional continues to be on the rise. While this has been an ongoing problem, it seems like in recent years, the problem is continuing to get worse. While our initial programs as mental health professionals teach symptoms of burnout, there is limited information provided to prevent burnout from occurring, or also how to handle the situation once it does occur. Unfortunately, in my experience, many mental health professionals, once they do reach the state of burnout, they unfortunately sit there for a while and they just have to deal with it. They don't have to, they choose to deal with it in a way that may not be unhealthy and may develop negative coping skills such as drinking or just being extremely negative on the job until they either decide to retire, find another job, or ultimately decide that working in the mental health industry is no longer for them and they choose a different route. So next is my reference section. This slide was created by using Slidomania, so I included that information as well. This concludes my presentation, and I thank you all for listening.